Alright, so I've seen a lot of players mad about how the fabulous rod was looking. A lot of players are happy with it, but even more are disappointed. I personally think for the amount of work that was put in, it definitely needs a buff. But a lot of you guys cannot act like this rod is completely dog water. It's still good, but I 100% get where a lot of you guys are coming from. And honestly, this lines up with the same problem I had, honestly, the first couple of months I started playing Fish. So I have a lot of propositions and ideas and kind of looking at the past of Fish that I want you guys to listen to and let me know what you guys think, because you guys are obviously the most important part of this game. You are the player base, and they are going to buff the fabulous rod. You can see right here, make the extremely difficult parts for fabulous quest easier, buff the fabulous rod, change the black market to be available all weekend, and additionally provide a smaller set of items. Discontinue adding rod quest line that are very grindy, 12 plus hours on average. And then right here I see, do you miss the extremely natural feel the game once had, or are you generally satisfied with the direction the game has taken? Excluding balancing issues, this is particularly targets general content, which is what we're going to be kind of talking about today, and a solution and kind of a way to kind of bring back that natural feeling the game had. So obviously in the end, it's a video game. Players should feel rewarded, especially after quests or some type of completion. If players don't feel like the items they're farming for are rewarding, obviously they're going to avoid the quest, wait for it to either get nerfed or wait for a better time or easier time to do the quest, which no problem. Some may even wait till the next update. But if things like this are continued, players will always just assume rods or items won't be as good or rewarding and avoid the game overall, which is like worst case scenario. Just kind of what happened to one of the biggest games, not only on Roblox, almost the world, Grow a Garden. And I'm not gonna lie, Fish devs definitely seem to have a fear of adding rods that are like too good, which is 100% reasonable. If every rod that's added is better than before, we will be switching rods every week just like last time, and players will find a whole other reason to be upset. But this results in some rods being very disappointing, which sometimes is alright. You can't always please everybody, you know what I mean? And I personally think an easy fix for this would be adding rods occasionally and instead focusing more on spearfishing, an entire other way of fishing that was almost neglected, added for almost like no other reason besides catching a few fish for bestiary. And a lot of people honestly ignored the spearfishing, and this is something that was honestly, I think a lot of players were looking forward to, some type of new way of fishing. I think it would be very refreshing and kind of bring back that old feeling. Kind of, it's like a great reset, you know what I mean? It'll give new players kind of a way to, or an area to catch up, and old players a nice little reset to kind of give them a fresh start. Because I honestly feel like no matter what Fish does, every single update will feel almost repetitive, because we're fishing the same way every single update. And obviously every game has its problems, but just because Fish got revived a couple of weeks ago or something doesn't mean there's some clock reset for how long there's been only one way of fishing. So basically I'm saying like the feeling of repetitiveness is not going to go away just because the game died for a little bit, or even problems that were occurring before the game died. We've got crab cages also, but things like that aren't long form ways of fishing. And the reason Fish did so well in the beginning, I'd say, is because a lot of people thought there were going to be variety ways of fishing or something in that line. Especially for the first couple of updates, 4 fish weren't that bad. I feel like one of the first big updates was like the Desolate Deep, and things like flippers, tiebreakers, diving gear, and crab cages were all being used or was just added in one update, which made the future of Fish look very promising. But it honestly never really went beyond that. Just adding new rods seemed easier and to kind of help push out more consistent updates, but it really led towards releasing quantity over quality, along with Dubik Studios being there doing what they did on top and kind of avoiding some of the developers or Nate himself to kind of have control over really creative updates. But overall, I personally think the number one problem right now is in a game where you fish, only really having one way of fishing is kind of crazy. So it's very long overdue a new variation of fishing, because I feel like they need some type of update to pop, like kind of like Blocks Fruits. An update that pops is they add a new fruit. Fish hasn't had that new fruit in a while, honestly. I feel like dev rods are definitely that recent pop for Fish, and it's really the only thing that players get excited for rod wise, because rods being added itself are becoming less and less exciting with the more rods that are being added. So I feel like something to kind of step away from rods itself and kind of, you know, contain its value, switching over to spearfishing or some other type of fishing would be pretty nice. And there's so much potential with spearfishing, because obviously there's not only one way of spearfishing. You can spearfish like tribal people, you can spearfish going under the water with a gun, you get what I'm saying? You put some gear on, scuba gear on, bringing actual threats in fish, like fish that attack you when you're fighting them, kind of give players a reason to work together on maybe shark bosses underground, under the water or something. And that would actually make sense to add bosses in the game, you know what I mean? Adding bosses in the game for rods doesn't make sense. Adding bosses in the game for spearfishing makes a lot more sense. And I honestly think the game could go a lot further with spearfishing than it can with fishing originally with rods, which is kind of ironic. And there's a lot of games and a lot of situations to take inspiration from, especially with the recent game called UnoTwo, which came out not too long ago, which has its own kind of spearfishing mechanic, and that's not even like a part of the game. It's just like quality of life in that game. Obviously I'm not comparing the two, but it does have its own uniqueness is the main thing I'm trying to take away from here. And also another thing with fish is it's not like blocks, fruits, or a lot of these other games which are stuck under a certain show, like One Piece. Obviously blocks versus One Piece, but fish is just fishing, so they could literally do almost anything. They could turn this game, they could turn this into a fighting game if they wanted. You get what I'm trying to say? We could be fighting bosses. There's no limitations as to what they could do with fish, and if it's done right, of course players are definitely going to enjoy it and want more of these advanced things. I don't want to go on too long. I really want to check out some of these things in the polls also, because these do look like some very important stuff. They've got changed the black market to be available all weekend and additionally provide a smaller set of items. That's not bad, so they can add like affordable things for players along with it being staying for a longer time. So we got discontinue adding raw quest lines that are very grindy, 12 hours over, and then we had the natural feeling of the game, which we just talked about. Spend far less time on smaller updates and put much more time into larger updates. This means that weekly there will be extremely small updates that lead up to much larger ones. I think that's, you know what, that's actually perfect. That would be way better and give them a lot more time to really work on these updates and push out better stuff. Honestly, I'd say, yeah, honestly, I was gonna say just go for like an update a month, but nah, I can't handle that, bro. I need like something small, bro. Remodel crazy looking / over the top rods to rods that have reels and actually look like fishing rods. Rooney's Oath being an example. Have a really, okay, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I feel like they could put that effort into something else. It already looks pretty crazy. So make fishing areas for islands less spread out so people are more commonly fishing together as a group. Hey, or at the very least make the strongest area typically easier to come together as a group for. See, I think this would be nice spearfishing, you know what I mean? It gives people an area to meet up. I'm telling you, bro, spearfishing could have so much potential in this game. It would honestly like beat normal fishing by a long shot, which is crazy. And I think if they have that chance, it should definitely be done. You get what I'm trying to say? Make islands smaller if the empty space isn't directly used for anything. Example, majority portions of the Lost Jungle, Ancient Isles, Castaway Cliffs, etc. What are people thinking on this? They say yes. I think that makes sense. That makes sense, I guess. Add cosmetic option to personal aquariums. Yes. I don't even want to read that. Yes. Being able to display one set of fish while gaining profit from another one. Yes. To actually have an aquarium, like our aquariums have no fish in it because some of the fish are too big or too small. Restructure fish values that are extremely unbalanced. Examples, some areas have mythicals worth 1k while others nearly 10k. This will mean ensuring most areas are generally similar, but value will rely on difficulty and actual chance alongside the rarity of course. Not bad, not bad. Restructure the luck system to make higher rarity fish feel possibly or properly rewarding. Right now they're extremely similar with most rods and generally they don't feel as rare as they once did. That is true, I can't lie. So much of this could be fixed with spearfishing. Deflate the economy, making everything cheaper, but also reduce money gain. No more extremely expensive rods, but no ridiculous gains for money or whatever. This would realistically not be nerfed as long as... Okay, that makes sense. So basically, they just want to change how money is in this game, not everyone having like billions. Buff wind elemental rod again. I'll take a buff. I'll take a buff anytime. Add a pity system to chests. If you have opened 50 treasure chests, you're guaranteed the sunken rod. Not bad. Yeah. Auto appraisal. Ooh, yes. This would be ridiculously hard to add for no reason. Buff Nate's blade. I actually don't. Actually, yeah, look at that. They should buff that. 3 billion is crazy. Make Renews Oath Mastery easier. When the economy is fixed and lowered, run one black market with all the previous black market exclusive rods in it, and then have the version that we pulled previously with them all never returning. What? I don't know. What are people thinking on this? Everyone's saying yes? Okay, I guess. Right. Should Fishmas have the original Santa's Village map from before, but touched up with many additions? What they think? Okay, I guess they saying yeah. Give Starlight Wormbait the Nova mutation. What they thinking? Yes. So these are actually some amazing changes. Round of applause to Nick, though. I'm not gonna lie. Nick has been putting in some work talking to the community with these great ideas too. But yeah, obviously the last thing anyone wants is for Fish to die again. And I feel like there has been a lot of like a very good communication between the community and Fish development team. So I think for the most part we are in good hands. But I really hope to see some type of new way of fishing implemented. I'm talking more about spearfishing since it's already in the game. And honestly, it's not a bad way to kind of go with spearfishing. You can we can slowly evolve it. Right now we're kind of on the jungle, you know, we got some jungle spearfishing, and it could slowly be evoluted into advanced current time spearfishing and maybe future spearfishing. You get what I'm trying to say? There's so much they could do with this. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Of course, that's the #1 thing I'm worried about. But besides that, that's all I've got to say.